Hello, welcome to the channel. So today we're going to do another very cool collector interview. As you know, we like to go across the world to showcase very unique collections and the people behind them. So today we are in sunny UK with Ben Dunn, the founder of Watch Products of London. How you been, man?
I've been good. It's a pleasure. And thank you for trekking all the way out here.
Of course, of course.
Yeah, it's quite surreal because the first time I saw some of these watches was when you did your chat with Tom.
Nice.
Many years ago. So for me, it's full circle. Yeah, it's really special and I'm excited to go through some of these with you.
My pleasure, my pleasure. And again, I've been following your Instagram for a long time. And what I like about you is the same thing I like about Tom's channel, Singapore Watch Club, or also A Collected Man. They show pieces, you know, from brands which we know, but the models we never seen before. So how did you get started with watches? Because again, these are no ordinary pieces here.
No, for sure.
Most of them very complicated. So there was probably like a journey. How did you get into it? How did the bug, bite you?
Yeah, so my entry into watches was through writing. So I used to write a lot more than I do now, just because I have a bit less time. I used to write more reference guides, and one of those was actually on the APQP.
Yes.
And so I got into writing because my previous life, I was a designer. So the small details that make a difference in terms of price or collectability was what was really interesting to me. And a lot of these models, as you say, are quite niche. And we don't see often, so you would see them trading maybe at prices that are too high or too low, and there just wasn't enough information out there. So I started writing about them, and then from that gained a bit of trust to start selling. So I started selling my personal collection, and then it went from there. And now I'm able to stock some lovely pieces and go full time, which I have been for the past around 3 years now.
Awesome, and I see you focus on a few brands. But you also like to dabble a bit in the quirky pieces here.
Yes.
Because the table now is mostly dominated by AP, Vacheron and Breguet. But we have a few Ulysse Nardin pieces here, some very quirky pocket watches as well. Obviously a wild card with the Urban Jurgensson, which I had the pleasure to review a few years ago. And I would say my favorite here, the Celangenta piece, of course. So you mentioned the Audemars Piguet Perpetual calendar. Again, a classic piece. I remember when the typical yellow gold white dial were like below 10K.
Yeah.
Now they're mostly 15. But this is something I rarely see. So yes. Is this like a very limited piece or?
So this is a piece I get asked about probably once a week, at least.
Wow.
And I've only ever managed to find two. And luckily they're both still in London, which is nice.
Nice.
And one of them let me borrow it today for the video. So this is the Salmon. This is the Salmon Dial white gold. It's reference 25661. So it has the open case back.
Yeah.
This is a really interesting watch because the serial numbers for all the ones we found are extremely tight. Mm-hmm. And they all come with a buckle that is actually older than this reference if it was like a generic dial. So it seems to be some kind of order of a batch of X amount, which we don't know how many of, but it's very easy to tell if it's correct because they all fit within the serial range. It's really gorgeous piece. And I wish I owned one myself. Yeah.
So the perpetual calendars are documented in the AP book.
Yes.
For complicated watches. Is the salmon also in there or not really?
No, they just document how many were made in white gold. And I believe in white gold for this reference was 32.
Okay.
So yeah, very small production run of this watch in general.
Nothing if you think about it today, yeah?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and we have some others here actually. So this...
Yes, Skeletons, my favorites.
Yeah, so Skeleton APQP in yellow gold. So this is the first run. You can tell it's the first one because the case has the protruding pushes. So the reference is actually 25558, whereas a later version has pushes that are flat with the case. They actually made slightly more of this earlier version, but to me, I love the original aesthetic. And this one is particularly special because it's just covered in a beautiful rosy patina.
Yes.
And the engravings are just razor sharp across the back. So this one I've been hanging on to for a while. It's just a perfect example. So for me, this is where it gets very difficult between...
To let go, huh?
Yeah, between collecting and dealing, because I love this watch.
Gorgeous attention to details. So even the case back is engraved with like inscriptions.
Yes.
But also then the cover here is engraved.
Yeah, they do the serial number twice on here. So you've got it on the rim of the case back and then also on the case. And it's all hand done. Everything about it is hand done, hand engraved. And it just wouldn't even be possible to manufacture these today with the man hours for the price. And these trade at way below what a modern equivalent would, and you get a serious amount of watch
For sure.
in my opinion, for the money with these.
And more rare as well.
Yes.
Because on the topic of selling and buying, these are available or not? Because you also, obviously, you make a living with sourcing and selling watches, and I assume also curating collections. Are these available or no? So people just know, like, because sometimes on the videos, you know, obviously people are like a watch,
Yeah.
and they're like, I would love to have one. And I think in this situation, it might be even the case. Huh? Of course, the Salmon one not.
No,
probably.
sadly not. And please, nobody message me about that one. Yeah, so everything here like is or will be for sale.
Yeah.
Apart from the Salmon one, because
At some point,
also this Urban is also
Yeah.
sold at
Nice.
this point. But yeah, some of them are, you know, like this particular one we just looked at.
Yeah.
You know, I hang on to some for as long as I can. But yeah, generally the name of the game is I have to sell them at some point.
Yeah.
It's just when, basically. It's a time thing.
But you also said often they return, or somebody else sees it and they also have one, and then you can allocate another one to the next lucky collector.
So this one here is really interesting because it's actually #1 on the case back.
Wow.
And it's in gorgeous condition. It has a champagne dial, which you don't often see with this reference. So it's reference 4100. So it's, in theory, the first mid-size watch that the Royal Oak had. So you had the original, then the ladies, and then the Royal Oak 3, they call it, is the 4100. And this is the first ever one in yellow gold. And I just got the extract from AP to confirm it.
That's #1.
Yeah, so it's on the case back, but I had the watch for a long time and I just delayed getting the extract because I was a bit nervous.
If it's going to be the right
But
one.
It was. And yeah, so this is a gorgeous example and I love the size.
Beautiful.
It wears wonderfully. And most people discard it because they're only exposed to the larger jumbo, for example. But if you try some of these mid-size on, they can be had for half the price and fit just as well, if not better.
I agree. And then we have also, next to the AP skeleton, Vasheron skeletons, which you also had quite a few on your Instagram profile.
Yes, so
this is sick.
For better or worse, when you get into the AP ones, you do get into the Vasheron or the other way around. So yeah, this one is a platinum version. They made around, I think it was 130-ish of these, most with white dial and some with blue dial. The blue ones are extremely rare, to be honest. So this is a white dial, absolutely gorgeous. Same base caliber as the AP, so you have the JLC 920 and then their own perpetual module. And the differences are you can actually have a 4-year calendar at the top at 12, whereas AP you can't tell. You actually have to know when you set it, or the watchmaker tells you, whereas you can actually tell on here. Exactly. And you also get a lapis moon disc as well.
That's beautiful.
So there's pros and cons, and how they wear are different. They're both 36, but one has long lugs, one has shorter. So I always ask people to try before they buy. Yeah, you know, some people are really into one brand, some people want the fit, and it's important to try them both because the APs have a bit more of a modern feel as well.
Oh, for sure. I think that the case of the AP here is a bit more thought through.
Yeah.
Looks a bit more complex, but again, I have to just take them under the loop as well.
I think the brush finish makes it look a little bit more modern to me.
Yeah.
And it's the high polish of the Vasheron is a bit more classic, if that makes sense.
But again, either one of them, they're both beautiful.
Yeah.
Just the amount of components in this watch is just makes you appreciate watchmaking and what these brands were and also are capable to do today as well.
Yeah.
And then if you want to have some more fun, huh?
Yeah, so this is just me buying stuff that I really enjoy. This was a watch actually I missed in an auction at Christie's.
Yeah.
I saw it go. It went at a price that I thought was very good to purchase at. I just wasn't paying attention or didn't have the funds at the time. It went to someone else, and then I got offered the watch through someone else for someone else. So I don't know how it came around, but eventually I was offered it and was able to get it in the collection. And I've absolutely loved it. I've only found one other example, and the serial number is just one after the case number.
Nice.
So they're next to each other. I haven't seen it in person. This is the only one I've seen. And this is actually a reference 43531. So the 5 dictates the diamond bezel. So a 43031 is the standard. And then the 5 gives the bezel.
Beautiful.
So another perpetual we have on the table is this Breguet. So Breguet for me are extremely interesting as a brand to stock, as a brand to collect, as a brand historically. You know, watchmakers involved, what they did, you know, back in time for pocket watches This is a Perpetual from the 80s. So this is actually really quite hard to come by because most of the Perpetuals you see are 90s onwards. And this has a smooth case back, which often indicates the age. And this is around mid-80s, which is when Daniel Roth was at the Maison. So he has worked on it or been involved in it or been around it.
In the room.
In the room. And this is the period that people really like to collect. So he left around 88, I think it was. So in theory, you know, this was part of his work. And people collect the chronographs. They collect these Perpetuals. We also have a tourbillon here.
Which is beautiful as well. Huh?
Yes, so the reference 3350. This is really interesting because it came out in 1990, but people still class it as like a Roth era tourbillon because I think they were developing this for years before. So when he was there.
Makes sense.
And this particular reference, they only made for a couple of years. And then they moved to the 3357, which they then made for 20 plus years, and they just discontinued it this year. So this is the original, only made for a couple of years and has barely any premium over the 57 on the market. And again, for a lot of Breguet, there isn't much difference in terms of pricing for the more rarer variants right now because the market is very, very new and there's no pop culture around it. It's just collectors talking to collectors and then go, oh, I like that. I might get one. It's a very organic, slow market, which I like that kind of market because it's just enthusiasm driven. If that makes sense.
And education as well. Huh?
Yeah. So there's lots of interesting pieces.
And if you think about the pricing of these Breguets, they are very affordable if you compare even to the modern alternatives of the same brand. Huh?
Yeah, I mean, this tourbillon, before it was discontinued, was roughly £110,000.
Yeah.
And to get the original OG right now is around £35, £36.
Yes.
So
if you don't want the original, you can get even lower.
Yeah.
Which is nuts for a Breguet tourbillon.
Yeah, the 3357 is slightly cheaper as well.
Yes.
And they're just amazing watches. I always say though, they're extremely loud. So if you work in an office, be very careful with this watch. But it's gorgeous. And then one final Breguet we have here is a Tiffany signed one. So this is actually dated 1980 and it was sold to Tiffany in New York.
So it's even older than the Perpetual basically.
Yes, yeah, and the engravings on the back get even more hand scribbled, if that makes sense. So this is a really lovely example. And a size and a price bracket that is very appealing to a lot of people right now who are looking for small watches around the 10K mark. Something a bit different. This has got a lot of character.
And timeless. Guilloche, Roman numerals, Breguet hands.
Exactly.
Very reputable brand, obviously. The grandfather of many complications. I mean, for me, Breguet is on the top of the list.
Yes.
Especially when you go into this neo-vintage market which you're in.
Exactly.
Do you call this vintage, neo-vintage? How do you describe these watches? Because they are kind of between, right?
I just call it 80s to 2000s.
Okay, gotcha.
Well, we could
it's
call
also
it.
A way,
Yeah, we could call it. And in that period, actually, we've got two others here. So we have Blancpain, which is another passion of mine.
Also underrated.
Exactly. And this was a really interesting brand from the 80s where it was brought back, or the rights were bought by Breguet and Breguet. And they did their 6 masterpieces. And within those masterpieces, you get some very interesting variants.
Yeah.
So this is a Perpetual, but it's got a mother of pearl dial.
Beautiful.
Diamond indices. This one is actually untouched. And it is covered in pretty much pink oxidization, or whatever it is on the case. Makes it extremely attractive watch, just overall. And pricing-wise, probably the most affordable on the table, Perpetual-wise.
Really?
So yeah, lots of interesting pieces to be found from the masterpiece.
So for people to understand, let's say, where is price-wise the Blancpain? Or you can give us a range, for example, as well.
Well, this exact example with the mother of pearl dial will probably go for around 16 to 18 pounds.
I often look at those examples on our local Swiss market. Just a typical example, like you said, yellow gold white dial between 9 and 11K Swiss francs.
Yeah.
And it's a Perpetual gold.
Exactly. And I think the size puts people off on paper, but again, you have to try these things because you're not coming across these in your day-to-day.
Yeah.
So you have to go out your way. And this is another one from the Masterpiece collection. So
this is extremely underrated.
You love this one.
I love this one.
Perpetual was around mid-80s when it came out, and this was late 80s. So this is a minute repeater.
Yeah.
as you say, it's extremely under the radar piece here.
Looks like a 5K watch.
Exactly. But this one's in platinum, and it's signed JHP, so Jean-Pierre Hagman.
The guy
between
behind
the lugs.
Recep Recep'i cases.
Yes, and his cases are, I think, almost like a collection bracket in their own sense. So from Anderson Genève to Frank Muller to Blancpain to Crivier, there's Pateks, of course. Yeah, they're extremely sought after by a group of collectors now, and I can only see it going one way because it's such a subtle but fantastic visual treat, let alone the musical aspect, and you know, the maker himself. Yeah, very cool piece that I'm really happy to have here on the table.
And it's cool because if you have this watch, it's not really affordable, right? I mean, it is for what it is, but what I want to say is if you wear this watch, you're not scared to get robbed, probably, because it looks like a plain supermarket watch to a person who doesn't know about watches.
Exactly.
But again, for those who know and see the little lever on the side, you immediately notice it's a minute repeater.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody comes over and notices the lever, you're either in for a great night or a terrible night.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
So, and then, like I said, my favorite watch on the table, also a minute repeater, but not only a minute repeater, is Skeleton Perpetual calendar with a beautiful bracelet, which I never saw in person. What do we have here?
So this is a Jurgensson minute repeater perpetual calendar from around the early 90s.
That's what you need.
I think they came out around 91. The movement by the master watchmaker Pierre-Michel Gollet.
Yeah.
Or Michel Pierre Gollet. You'll have to edit the right
one
in there. It's absolutely stunning watch. Double Geneva seal on the movement for the perpetual and for the minute repeater. And having gone around the Le Fabrique du Temps, the two of the chaps who take you around there worked with Genta. And they said that every piece they did was almost unique because he was full of ideas. So one day he'd come in and say, oh, you know, we want to facet the crystal. So the next one had a faceted crystal. Oh, we're going to change the crown. You know, or the clasp, we're going to change it here. So it was extremely like erratic, but incredible for collectors now to find pieces that are all slightly different.
Yeah.
And this platinum version is gorgeous with the gold movement. And
it's just beautiful.
I've only seen one other platinum. And for me, I just love it because it's everything that he was as a designer, whereas everybody thinks he is the Royal Oak or the Nautilus.
Yeah.
And when you look at that versus this, it's extremely tame work visually versus this.
Yes.
Clever because it's extremely desirable. But this is him when he goes wild, and that's what I like.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Same. This reminds me of a lot about independent watchmaking, for example.
Yeah.
A very crazy design, weird case, weird bracelet, open dial, perpetual, repeater. You know, just something the brands, I think, are afraid to do nowadays.
Yeah.
To just step beyond themselves a bit and do something crazy again, like in the past.
Yeah, I think when it's design-led,
yeah,
it can really get out of hand in a good way.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
I can't wait to shoot this. And again, Skeleton Perpetuals, I mean...
There's a bit of a theme.
Can't go wrong with this, ever.
Yeah, I know what I like, that's for sure.
And then we have also some two oddballs here with Ulysse Nardin, a dear brand to me. Again, San Marco on the back. The name of my first Instagram channel was San Marco Watch because of Ulysse Nardin, so it's very cool. And a beautiful cloisonné enamel dial.
Yes.
Collectible as well. A work of art, huh?
Yeah, so these are really interesting because you have many, many scenes that you can collect. And they're all made in very limited production, so around 35 pieces or less, depending on the metal. I think mainly just on the metal. And these dials are gorgeous. Like I've got one of those ridiculous microscopes in the office, and you can go down the different layers. So you go right down to the base, and you can see the texture that they apply, and then you can see the wiring for them to hold the enamel, and then you can see the fondant on the top. And then you can go up another tiny amount, and then you can see the writing on the top of that. And the quality is just outrageously good.
Yeah.
And let's bring in the sub for the price of like a pre-owned sub.
Yeah.
Green
Makes
sub,
no sense.
whatever that is. You can get this watch.
Comment down below how much a green sub is. We don't even know.
Yeah, we don't know. But this is, you have this around £17.
Yeah.
which is
1,000,
insane.
So 1,000.
Yeah, £17,000. And what's amazing is Donze, who did the dials, they're extremely active on Instagram.
Yeah.
So you can tag them and they'll go, oh, you know, we made this then, or we made X
they
amount
know
of these.
maybe who even made it back then.
Exactly.
Maybe the person is still working there.
Yeah, and people are really into, you know, handcrafts and this, you know, enameling from Patek and things like that. And of course, most people can't afford that level.
Yeah.
But what is the level there? Like, when you compare this to that, it's very interesting to dive deep into the quality of the enameling, and I think these are some of the best. And particularly, you can get like naval scenes or non-naval scenes.
Yeah, ships. That's beautiful.
Yeah, the non-naval scenes tend to trade higher, and the platinum examples, but there's something for everyone, and it's just a really, really beautiful watch that nobody knows about.
This is a beautiful color combination just on its own, you know.
Yeah.
And if you like dress watches and you're bored at work, I think this is a good choice.
Exactly.
And then a very, again, looks like a normal watch from the front. The cool thing is it says #1 again.
Yes.
You have a thing for #1s, I see. And when you turn it around, the movement is absolutely stunning, huh?
Yeah, so this, I believe these are repurposed Venus movements from the 60s. I think it's the 175 and the 179 caliber. The split second. And
Gorgeous.
yeah, it's
Massive, huh?
absolutely beautiful. And this particular watch is slightly larger than I wear, so I think this is around 38. I love the 36 mil space. But the dial, the off-white dial, the numbering on the dial, so like this with #1 is obviously extremely attractive. And then you turn it over and the movement's just wild.
That's a movement, so it's insane, huh?
Yeah, and it's a talking point, and it's a brand that people probably don't expect you to whip one of these out and go, oh, look how crazy this is.
Yeah.
So yeah, anything like this I love. If you can have a conversation that you wouldn't have.
Yeah,
you know, with
like a
something on your
conversation
wrist like
starter,
that.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then let's go to the oddballs here.
Okay.
There's a Urban Jurgensson.
Yes.
What, you know, you woke up one day and you're like, I need a Urban Jurgensson.
Do you know what? It almost was like that. I'm very out of the loop on independence,
Okay.
to be straight up. But for me, this is me dabbling in independence.
You need to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Huh? I covered about 150 brands on there.
I know. No, this is me getting independent.
Okay.
Okay, so this is as far as I go.
Getting your toes wet. Yeah?
Yes, I love the history of it. I love where it could be going. I love the hand finish aspect. I love the people who've worked on it. And for me, again, it's a perpetual, it's the classic style, it's the size. It's everything that I love from these type of brands, but in a somewhat independent piece. And again, made in limited numbers. For me, it's a really collectible watch and aesthetically beautiful, which is really just what I buy on. So like, do I like the look of it? Yes. Should I buy it? Is basically the thought path. And you know, why would you buy something that you don't like the look of? You know, it makes no sense. So for me, I just saw it and thought, yes, you know, this has got to happen. And this is a very special one, actually. It's a full set.
#1?
It's not #1. It's a full set Ref 2, and it's just completely flawless. And this has gone to a wonderful home. So I'm excited for him to collect this.
You're sad and happy at the same time.
Yes, yes.
Like always with these watches.
Yeah. Next up, actually, this is one other.
That's a quirky one, huh? That's a quirky one.
So this is very new to me. So this is Oscar Walden. This is a Polish watchmaker, I believe, who learned his trade in concentration camp during the war. And then he was very influential in the 80s, buying up Zenith Primero movements when they stopped using them. So he bought a bunch of them and had a very optimistic plan for his work. But eventually he had to sell a bunch of the movements to other brands that we have on the table, such as Ebel, that's on my wrist. He was, you know, friends with the owner at the time, and also, you know, one of the Wilsdorf. He got the movement into the Zenith Daytona.
Okay.
And so he was very much like the 80s chronograph guy who kind of got it into places, and he did his own work for people like Tiffany & Co. and Tourneau. He also had his own signed dials. Very cool classic shape, which many people will enjoy. And yeah, it's a very affordable piece that you get a lot of joy from wearing.
What does that mean, price-wise?
Price-wise,
Approximately.
I don't know, less than £10, £10,000 currently. So yeah, it's lovely. And
gold case, huh?
yeah, gold case, lots of character on it.
Yeah, applied numerals.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
I think it's around 38 mil. So again, it's a little larger than I usually go for. And when it's something that's new for me, I get really into it. And so even though it wears slightly larger than I prefer, I'm on it. You know, I'm obsessed. I'm going down the rabbit hole on it.
You start hunting, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly.
And then I also see pocket watches. Is this always a thing, or did you just start, or?
So this is a guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, I wrote the articles and then was able to sell some watches to fund basically the start of the business. So I don't really have any personal pieces. However, pocket watches are at a different price bracket.
Yes.
So I've started to play in this area, which is fun for me personally. I can get hold of really nice pocket watches that to me visually are gorgeous. I'm the first to admit I don't know a whole lot about pocket watches. I just know what looks good to me. So this, for example, matching guilloche front and back, a gorgeous stepped thick bezel.
In great condition.
Yeah, and again, it's an interesting opportunity for me to connect with dealers who sell things that are slightly different to what I sell. So this was from, I believe, vintage New York City, so Henry. So I love to build connections with people through watches that aren't quite what I'm into. So, you know, maybe they have something that I am.
Yeah.
I might be top of mind.
But you never know. I like pocket watches a lot as well.
I know you do.
I have about 20. Nothing crazy brand-wise, but I like to buy them based on complication or what indication they have on the dial, you know. But this pocket watch I've seen before from Vacheron Constantin, it's extremely light, huh? So
yeah, so this is around 20 grams, so made of aluminium. Most of the movement is aluminium as well. And it was from late 40s to early 30s, generally gifted to people in the mining industry. And they're usually long service signed on the back. And these are quite popular, to be honest. They auction very randomly. I've seen them auction at 15,000 Swiss and above. I've also seen them auction in, you know, 4 or 5. So yeah, I was really keen to get this. I got this from a close friend and collector in the UK who actually owns this Salmon APQP. He had one that he offered me and I just had to take it. This was my first step in. And since then I've got this, the Patek.
You have a Breguet as well, which is now gonna go in service.
I have a Breguet with a hand hanging off, and I've just bought an APQP pocket watch.
Like
so yeah, I've got my
Skeleton or
no, just a white dial yellow case, but it has
for the beginning.
For the beginning, but it has the full kit, so it even has all the calendar cards, everything, which to me is crazy for the pocket watch. I'm just getting into these. You know, I don't really know where it's going, but just enjoying the journey.
But it's a lot of fun, huh? Like I collect by repeaters, so I have like 4 quarter repeaters, 1 5-minute repeater. I need also a minute repeater. You know, from time to time something pops up. I always with repeaters ask people to send me videos, because I only buy them if it like sounds nice. Otherwise, it makes no sense. But pocket watches are fun, and also I think very affordable if you think about what's actually in them.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly.
And when they were made.
I'm not sure what to do with them, so I just have them lined up on my desk.
Yeah, same.
And my wife is also equally as confused as why I'm buying these. But who knows? Again, you just, you know, if you buy stuff you're into, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. And something I've seen lately from you, maybe the last year, a fascination with Ebel.
Yes.
It's again a tight-knit community of people, and more are opening up to it. And then I did some research, again, in my local market in Switzerland, and I saw that for what you get with the movement and bracelet, which looks very tapered, and I tried it on as well here with you.
I have it here, actually. That's what I'm wearing.
It's a great price performance piece, huh?
Yeah, so for me, I really enjoy the design. It's very polarizing, and I can understand why people don't. But again, it's the same Zenith, you know, 3019 caliber. At the beginning, and there's some lovely tweaks and variations that they did over the period. It was a very interesting watch during the 80s, and it was before the Zenith Daytona. So they, as we mentioned with the Walden situation, these and the Zeniths came after, and Rolex kind of wanted to do something similar to Ebel. And now it's not the same brand that it was, but they've left behind all these models for people to find. So you can get incredible obsidian, mother of pearl, baguette set watches for, really not a lot, and they're solid gold, and they can be around £5,000.
Yeah.
This is just an interesting dial because it's changed color to, I call it the cappuccino dial, as if somebody spilt their coffee on it, which maybe they have. And then the wave bracelet is very...
Very tapered, huh?
Yeah, it's something that people
very
think of
comfortable.
when they think of early Ebel. This watch as a package with the bracelet and the cappuccino dial, it will probably be around 5,500, if that, pounds. So you get a lot of watch.
100%.
But this one isn't listed for sale yet. This one I wear a lot.
Not yet, huh? But listen, maybe if he feels good on that day.
Well, Tim's probably watching this and he's like, I've shot that watch. Why is it not listed? It's because I can't part with it yet.
It's hard to let go, huh?
Yeah, so, I mean, some of them really have character, and the value that they sell at, to me, is sometimes it doesn't really make sense because I would rather get more enjoyment. I would get more enjoyment than the sale of that watch.
Yeah. Makes sense.
To some extent. It'll probably go for sale at some point.
So you've seen and collected and sold and sourced many different watches. Do you have like a unicorn that you're hunting, or have you at this point seen like almost everything?
No, I definitely haven't seen almost everything. I haven't ever stocked a 3970 yet. Mm-hmm. They're getting extremely popular and very pricey, so I'm not sure I will.
Yeah.
But again, I haven't even really gone into that market, so there's all that to learn and enjoy. And with the APQPs, there's so many dials that I love and haven't even seen. Mm-hmm. And when you flick through the AP book, there's hundreds of dials. Yeah. And other pieces of collections like 3940s, I've got into those a lot recently. I did an article years ago on them, but more recently I've gone back to them because a big collector in London, I did a deep dive on the different dials of the first series. And there's actually multiple dials, and there's layers upon layers of collecting within a series. So everything here has been touched upon roughly online a little bit, I think, which it wasn't a few years ago, so that's awesome for scholarship-wise. But now I think there's more people in it, we can go a level deeper and a level deeper. And we're getting to that stage with these 80s to 2000s pieces where we can really start to find really interesting examples and identify why things happened and things like that.
Yeah. And also with the growth of social media, you see more watches, right?
Yes.
Because in the past, it was always just in closed rooms or meetups or whatever, but now everybody wants to show their collection.
Yeah.
And you probably can source and find some really incredible watches, like this AP Rolls-Royce here, or the Blancpain, which again, if you see it online, you might just skip it. Yeah. But if you read what it is, it's like, oh, damn, it's an interpreter.
What's really interesting is I have a group on WhatsApp where I can post watches for sale before they go on the website. So people who are really passionate about these pieces can see them.
That's your FOMO group.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's also great for me for sourcing. So if something goes in it and it sells, some people who have that model who maybe had it a while and just want to change their collection, they'll go, oh, I've got one as well.
Yeah.
And also on Instagram when you post, this Tiffany, for example, this Tiffany Breguet posted this, and then someone reached out and said, oh, I have one as well. Would you like to buy it? And the answer was yes.
Absolutely. So, ASAP.
Yeah, the community around this period is amazing.
Yeah.
And I think it's really just all about people learning and enjoying them. And that's the best bit.
Awesome. Well, Ben, thank you so much for taking your time. Huh?
It's been a pleasure.
For allowing me to shoot all these beautiful watches. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Check out his Instagram channels, the website, and maybe the WhatsApp FOMO group, to get to feed your addiction even more.
To rename it now.
Exactly. Just don't tell your wives. Huh?
That's it. Well, thank you so much. And
it's my pleasure.
It's been great.
Guys, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.